What's up everybody, this is Zeeshan Janjua and welcome to today's video. Today's video is a really important video because we are talking about how to attempt a question paper for maximum marks. So I think this is a very important topic for all of you. So stay with me to learn how to attempt your paper for maximum marks. If we talk about how to attempt a paper, and why it is really so important for a student, it is important because you need to represent yourself through your paper. A paper checker doesn't know you, he has no idea whom paper he is checking. So he is only depending on the way you are writing the paper, the way, the presentations, the style you are adapting to solve the paper. Basically, examination paper consists of two parts, objective and subjective. Objective is a straightforward one. The only thing you need to be careful about solving the MCQs is while you are filling the bubbles, you don't get outside of the bubble. That is the only thing. You only need to stay inside of the bubble while you are filling it. That is the only thing you need to worry about when it comes to attempting the MCQs. There's nothing really fancy about it. But the basic thing is that you need to be quick with the MCQs because there is a limited time to solve MCQs. So the only thing you need to worry about is time and filling the bubbles in the right way. This is all we can talk about the objective section. Now we come to the main part of the paper, and that is the subjective type. And subjective type is divided into two different parts. We call them the short questions and the long questions. So let's talk about the short questions. Short questions may be sometime divided into different sections, or may not be divided into different sections. It depends what kind of a paper you are attempting, so don't worry about that. Whether you are attempting a short question section that is divided into different sections or not, the thing you need to understand is that you are trying to make a very first impression. So you need to open up with a very good question that you want to attempt, because it is kind of an opening sentence, so it has to be a strong one. So I always recommend, whether it is a section or there are no sections in the short questions, always attempt a question that you know the answer in the very best way. Always open your examination answer sheet with a question to whom you know the answer in the very best way. Answer that question in the very first place, and then the sequence goes on. The next best one, and the next best one, and the next best one. And I have seen students making a very common mistake, is that if the short questions are divided into different sections, they answer questions in a random fashion. They are throwing the paper checker from here to there, and it makes the paper checker a bit angry. The best way to solve this question and to eliminate that mistake is like sticking to the sequence. While you are attempting the section number 1 and you have to attempt 6 questions out of 8, you answer to these 6 questions, and for any reason you only know the answer to the 5 questions, and there might be a chance that the answer for the 6th question might come to you in some time. So the thing you need to do is you have attempted 5 questions, and you, in spite of starting the very next section right below the 5th question, you are going to leave some space for the 6th question. Depending upon how long you think the answer for that question might be. That is what you need to do. You need to leave a section, some space for the 6th question, and then you start the other section after that. Are you with me? You have to leave a section where you can attempt the 6th question if it comes to you while you are attempting your paper. You just need to come to that part, the section where the very first section, and then you just have to answer the question. You have the space and you can answer the question. Because if you don't leave the space and you are attempting the 2nd section, and now this answer to the 6th question comes in your mind, so you don't have the space to write that question in the right section, so you will write the answer to that question in the 2nd section. So if the examiner is checking your very first short question section, he only will grade you for the 5 questions. because in the second section, when he comes to the question that belongs to the first section, he had already marked that section, so he cannot do anything about that. So you need to stick to the section scheme. You always need to leave the space if you don't know the answer to the question right now at that moment, but you think that it might come to you in while you are solving the paper. Always leave the section. That is the common mistake that I've seen students making. There is another thing about short questions, the way you attempt them. I've seen people students using a lot of markers and ballpoints. Some students overdo it, some students go simple. While you are attempting a paper, you need to be subtle about it. So how you can be subtle about it? Use a simple marker, a Sharpie of a blue color and a blue ballpoint. I always recommend using these two things while you are attempting a paper. Nothing is more fancier than using these two things in the right combination. If you're using these two things in the right combination, you are attempting your paper in a very beautiful manner. Use a black Sharpie or a marker for writing the questions and headings, quotations. These are the things you need to write with your marker or a Sharpie, and the other paper will be attempted using the blue ballpoint. These are the only two things in terms of stationery you need to worry about. So let's talk about the long questions. While you are attempting long questions are of like two types. Again, like short questions. Single question might be divided into two different, might consist of two parts, part A and part B, or there will be only a single question. Whatever the situation is, solving the long question depends upon the way you start to write the answer. You need to be comprehensive about answering that question. And I always recommend, whether it is a science-based subject or an arts-based subject, headings are the best way of writing a answer to a very long question, because while you are using headings, it creates a flow of writing. You are going from heading to heading and you are describing each heading, and your question is making a lot more sense. It is not always possible to attempt the paper within the time, but if you get clumsy at the end, it means that there is a rush of time when a student is getting a bit clumsier with attempting the paper, because there is not really much of a time left for him to attempt that paper. So it is justified. But if your whole paper is telling a story that you are in a bit of a rush, it means you are clumsy with your paper attempting skills, and that is not a very good impression. I always recommend that start your paper, it's like representing yourself to a person. You are meeting the checker, and the way you are meeting is how you are attempting your paper. You are meeting the paper checker by the way you are writing down your answers. Be really careful about it. No cutting. I've seen students doing a lot of cutting. They write something and they are like, okay, I've done some sort of a mistake. They cut that out and then they write. You need to be sure while you're writing, you need to be sure what you are writing. Cutting off a word or two in the whole paper is justifiable, that you suddenly you wrote a word that is wrong and that is not relatable, that is not the accurate one, so you have to cut it up. That is justifiable, but cutting the whole sentences is not justifiable, and it is not really a good way to make an impression. So avoid cutting. Headings, I'm always saying that in order to solve long questions, headings are the best way of doing it, because I've seen if you attempt a question using headings, you get a lot more marks. And why I'm saying that sequence really does matter, because if your paper is attempted in the right sequence, it is very easy for a paper checker to navigate throughout your paper. You are not throwing him here and there inside of your answer sheet. He's looking for the questions, he's looking for the answers. You are making it really hard for him to mark your paper. The easier you make it for him to mark your paper, the maximum marks he is going to give you, because it's a mindset. You need to understand it's a mindset. If somebody tells you the wrong address, what would you do? You would be angry at that person. This is the same situation. You are throwing him, like, he goes to the first page, he's checking the very first section, and then he goes to the second section and he sees a question from the very first section, and he had marked you for the very first section. Now he has to go there and change those marks, and sometimes some people don't really like doing that. So they are not going to award you for that question. Even though you have written the answer and that answer is right, they are not going to award you for that question because they are seeing it as a mistake. You have to attempt that question in that very section. That is the way. If you are attempting that question out of the section and somewhere other than that section in your answer sheet, you are making a mistake. Some people are not really forgiving in that when it comes to that, and they don't award you for that question. In order to obtain maximum marks, I am telling you the sequence really does matter. You need to make your paper checking a lot more simple and easy for the paper checker. It's like making an impression. It shows that you are a really good student. You know how the things work. I hope this video helps you to obtain maximum GPA and marks in your exam. If you liked this video, give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video. And see you all in the next video. Till then, take care.